This actually happened with my girlfriend not long ago. I guess it was around 6-7 months ago when she stayed in North Campus, New Delhi. In fact, the exact same experience had occurred with another girl who stayed at that room, and as we found out later, with a guy as well, who used to live in that room years before. As my girlfriend is from Delhi itself, she couldn't literally live in with me, but we had solved that problem smartly, like a lot of other couples in the campus. We each had our respective rented rooms, but we stayed in only one of the rooms. In this case, we both stayed at my room. Her rented room was, as a result, left empty 25 days out of 30 every month. She'd go there only if her parents came over or if she had to rise early next morning for a class or conference because I slept late and it disturbed me when she got up so soon and all the noise when she would be getting ready. We did go there sometimes if we felt like we needed a change of routine. Also, she would keep most of her books, etc. There were a lot of them, and some clothes, etc., for namesake in that room, so that if her parents ever visited, they wouldn't get suspicious that she wasn't staying there. There was a power cut in my block one day, and we went over to sleep at her room. Damn scary it was in the dark. The first feeling I had when I set foot there that night was, fuck, it's scary. The room was really beautiful, but it was the positioning that was more than eerie. Let me explain. It was a 3-story building. At the ground floor, the landlord and landlady lived. They were mostly never there because they lived with their daughter in Canada around 8 months of the year. Above that was a whole floor that was locked off for a long time. They had wanted to get it renovated so that they could lease it out, but the renovation never really got through, and the whole floor just lay crumbling, so to say. It probably had been locked for more than 6-7 years. Now my girlfriend's room was at the top. It was basically a set of 2 rooms separated by a corridor, and the kitchen and toilet bathroom were at one side. The kitchen bathroom area was covered, and so were both the rooms. But apart from that, it was just open. There were 2 4-story buildings on the either side, and they were pretty high too. This was a depressing factor in itself, as you practically felt belittled by those high walls on either side. Nevertheless, I must concede that it being open was a beautiful aspect, because the way the building was positioned, one could see the moonrise every day. There were 2 rooms now. One was on the east side of the floor and the other on the west side. You could see the sunrise from the eastern room, and it also had a beautiful little balcony that overlooked the street. It was a delight during the winter months. We often rue how we never really sat in that balcony enough when she actually paid around $3,000 more just to get that balcony room. Heck, we never spent enough time at the room. Lowell. The other room was mostly empty too because the occupant was mostly partying with her friends or traveling. The stairs were on the inside of the building and not on the outside, so you had to open the main door with your key and switch on the light of flight number 1 of the stairs. Then when you reached the next flight of stairs, there were 2 switches. You switched off the light of the previous flight of stairs and switched on the light of the next flight of stairs. Same thing till the top. Not to mention that the lock of the main door was a bit rusty, and sometimes it got stuck. I couldn't see why. That was because it seemed pretty new from the outside and there wasn't any apparent rusting. Frankly, it seemed really funny and stupid to me at first. All this seems so normal and characteristic of a neglected house at first glance. It's these details, however, that screw you when it goes dark and scary. Trust me, you cannot fathom what a person caught in a crisis scenario, in a setting such as this, literally has to go through. You almost feel like it's the damn end. So, here's how it goes. I had a fight with my girlfriend one day, a really bad one. She stormed out of my room and I didn't bother to stop her because I was simply too pissed. Now, my girlfriend is a really gutsy woman, and frankly speaking, it is safe to say that I can get more scared than her at times. I am hypersensitive, and she is too practical and logical. She is, to put it accurately, a woman of science, and literally so because she is a junior fellow in physics. Even if she saw a ghost or apparition right in front of her, she might dismiss it by giving some logical explanations to herself. She went to her place at 2 a.m., opened the door, did the light switch drills up to the top, and settled down in her room to watch a movie to clear her mind. Our Cold War went on for a few days, and she decided to stay on at her place. Her exams were round the corner at the time, and she decided to drop the movies and start studying. So she was sitting and studying in her room one evening when she felt someone standing in the balcony. She looked again to confirm if it was more than just her senses playing with her. Well, it was still there. Something like the apparition of an old lady peeking through the window. The scary thing is, it didn't budge. My girlfriend hurried out of the room and down the stairs, and the door lock was stuck. She nervously cried for help and frantically tried the lock again and again, until finally she managed to bang it open and rushed out and made her way to my room. We made up some time later, and it was all well, and she shared the story with me. I felt guilty, understandably so, and we kissed and made up. She told me later that that single moment when she was frantically banging the door just to be able to get out was probably the scariest she had ever felt in her entire lifetime. She felt like someone was rushing down the stairs, and she had to rush against time to get out before it managed to get to the bottom floor. A few months later, the other room got vacated, and she swapped her room. The new girl in the East Side room was quite friendly, and we spent a lot of time with her, smoked up and everything. Coming back to the day we went over to sleep at my girlfriend's place. This was a few days after the new girl moved in. We reached my girlfriend's room and found the main door open. The lights to the staircases all left on, the top floor door left open, and also her room's door open, and all lights left on. It seemed kind of strange at first, but we both had early engagements the next day, and we desperately needed to cool off as it was really hot. It can get very humid in Delhi around July, August. This room was quite cool and had good ventilation. Ghost or no ghost, sleeping there was simply the best option at that moment. My block had had a blackout, and it was really hot in my room. Plus, this was a different room, and actually pretty nicely done up. The previous occupant was a fine arts major, and she has beautifully painted the room herself. So we went to sleep, and the moonlight was probably the most romantic thing that we had experienced in a long time. One thing led to another, and well, a lot happened. The only thing, though, is this. I felt all along that someone was watching through that window, and that was eerie and chilling. Later, I found out that my girlfriend had felt the same. We decided to stay a few more days at her place because we kind of liked the moonrise routine now. I dismissed the feeling of being watched as crap, and so did my girlfriend. I presume she did too because we never spoke about it. Besidis, I'm a sucker for moon gazing. It's hard to find a room in Delhi which provides you the best view to just lay there gazing at the moon and fall asleep. A few days later, the girl in the other room attempted suicide. Yes, you heard that right. She swallowed a whole pack of sleeping pills, and luckily for her, her friends came over, found her unconscious, and got her to vomit just in time. They still had to pay off the doctor a decent sum of money for it, not to count as a suicide attempt case, but, well, let's just say she was very, very lucky. So, a few days later, we were still staying at my girlfriend's place, more than my place as it was much cooler. This other girl comes back from her classes, and we just sit together and have some Coca-Cola, snacks, and socialize. She told us that she was too depressed because she flunked in year and had been so since she had shifted into that room. However, it was surprising to her as well how she could do something as stupid as trying to commit suicide. Few days later, both me and my girlfriend headed home to spend some time with our families. We each get a call from the girl at around nighttime the next day.
I was at a bar with friends and didn't notice until next morning. I called my girlfriend next morning, telling her that I'd got a call from her flatmate. My girlfriend had answered that call, however, and it scared her more than it probably could have scared the other girl. The exact same thing had happened to her. Exactly the same. In the same order as well. She was sitting and studying, saw the apparition of what looked like woman staring right at her through the window. She looked again to make sure. And it didn't budge. She ran down, door lock jammed. She cried frantically for help and frantically twisted the doorknob until, well, the gods decided to have mercy on her and she could bust herself out. She barely made it out with her heart in her mouth and got high fever the same night. Anyways, she went to her sister's and decided to stay there until she could find another room. We never went back to stay for the night and just decided to wait it out till we could find a new room too. When my girlfriend and I came back from home, we just happened to bump into the other girl at a small tea stall near that house. We were having tea and smoking cigarettes when a guy walks up and asks if we stay on the 3rd floor in the nearby building. We nodded. He grabbed a stool and sat beside us and told us that he stayed there too a couple of years ago and left because he was too spooked out. We asked him what had transpired, and he had the exact same story to tell. Exact same story. Not even a single thing different. He, in fact, went on to tell us that they had even gotten the lock on the main door changed many times, but the new one still jammed for no apparent reason. He told us that he'd seen us leave the building a few times, and that's how he knew where we stayed. He had shifted to a room in a building across the street from that haunted room, and he'd been staying there for more than 2 years now. We told him about our experiences and how we were in the process of changing the rooms now. He said that was a really good decision, and that sort of stress was just too much to take. As he got up to leave, we asked him why he came over to warn us at all, and what if we had never had a paranormal experience in the room? What if we dismissed him as being crazy? He lifted a sleeve and showed us his right wrist. There was a deep scar running end to end. I almost killed myself over there, man, and I still can't understand why I ever did something like that.